So this video is about the Egyptian people, the Hamitic people, black people, the Israelites, people from Canaan, people that lives in Jerusalem, and the relationship. All of these people share a basic relationship. If you want to see how those people are related, just watch this video to the end. Gonna get into some scriptures in Book of Chronicles, Book of Joshua, Book of Psalms, and Book of Jubilees. Gonna look at some maps and some territories and see how all of these early families are related and how they are linked together. So if you're interested in seeing how all of these guys are linked together, just watch this video and you'll get some answers to that. So first, let's have a background of who Ham is. And I'm just going to read from here. You can follow on the screen. Just get a general idea. And then we'll get into some scriptures and some maps as to where these guys were living, who they were and where they were living. So this is what it says here. In early Judaism and Islam, you can see on the screen, it says, while Genesis 9 never says that Ham was black, he became associated with black skin through folk etymology, deriving his name from a similar but actually unconnected word meaning dark or brown. The next stage are certain fables according to ancient Jewish traditions, according to one legend preserved in the Babylonian Talmud. So here we're looking at this definition and the internet talking about what they associated Ham with. So Ham was associated with being black. Now it says, curse of Ham actually placed upon Ham's son Canaan, that's the truth. There was no curse on Ham, it was on Canaan. Occurs in the book of Genesis, imposed by the patriarch Noah. It occurs in the context of Noah's drunkenness. It is provoked by a shameful act perpetrated by Noah's son Ham, who saw the nakedness of his father. The exact nature of Ham's transgression and the reason Noah cursed Canaan when Ham had sinned have been debated for over 2,000 years. Right? So the story's original purpose may have been to justify the subjection of the Canaanite people to the Israelis, but in later centuries, the narrative was interpreted by some Christians, Muslims, and Jews as an explanation for black skin as well as justification for slavery. So here we're looking at the context of who Ham was, justification for black skin, slavery, and curse. That's what Ham, this is what the church, Muslim, Jews, Christians, this is what they believe. Similarly, the Latter-day Saint movement used the curse of Ham to prevent the ordination of black men to its priesthood. So we're talking about the Latter-day Saints. Those are the Mormons. So they also have it that black skin was also a curse, to me a gift. So now we understand some context. Here's another definition again from the Bible, what Ham is. So it says here, Ham, warm, hot, and hence the south. Also an Egyptian word meaning black. So here we're seeing black again, keep on turning up. All of these different ideas of, Hamitic people and black skin and curse and slavery. Those are all what we're hearing about Ham. But we're going to get into the Bible and get some information about who Ham is. And we're going to start from Genesis. So that was the secular world. Let's see what the Bible says about Ham. All right, so here we go. So we're going to look at the book of Genesis chapter 10. And we're going to see what it says here. Genesis, in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 10. So Genesis chapter 10, it says, we're going to look at verse 1, said, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto these were the sons born after the flood. So we hear Noah having 3 sons, And now we're looking at what happens after the flood. So Ham was one of those sons. So we're going to keep that in mind when we read further on. We just got to remember Ham, because we're only talking about Ham at this point, right? So we'll get some further context as to Ham. Let's go down to verse 15 then. And we're going to look at Ham had a few sons. Let's look at the sons of Ham. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. So these are Hamitic genealogy. Cush, which is Ethiopia, Mizraim, Egypt, Put is Libya. So we're looking at Libya, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Canaan. We're looking at Israel, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, and those places. So we're going to keep that in mind. And these are the sons of Ham. So now we're going to look at the grandsons of Ham in verse 15. And Canaan. So we're focusing on Canaan. So we're focusing on Ham, Canaan, and the children of Canaan. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Het, and the Jubicite. So keep this in mind. Just remember the Jubicites, because we're going to focus on that, Jubicites and Canaan. And the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite. So all of these ites, when we see them, we just remember Hamitic people. So this is a background we're getting from the Bible. So let's get some further background from the Bible as well. We're going to go to book of Psalms. Then we're going to go to Joshua. Then we're going to go to the book of Chronicles. So let's go to Psalms now. Just going to outline some more information, some more facts on who Ham is. So we're going to go to Psalms 78, verse 51. Psalm 78, and we're going to go to verse 51 down here. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacle of Ham. So here we're looking at Ham again as an Egyptian man. And the context, we're talking about Hamitic people in the context of black. So Egyptian, when you see Egyptian, just keep in mind black people. Well, I didn't say this, guys. I just read before on the internet how the Christian, Jews, and Islamic looked at Hamitic people, right? So not me that says this. Also Psalms, we're going to look at another Psalms 105 as well. Let's see. So Psalms 105 verse 23, 105 verse 23, here we go, 23. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. So here's, so he sojourned in Egypt, which is the land of Ham. So here again we see an Israeli people, sojourning in the land of the black people, according to the definition that was read before. So some further context as to these Hamitic people, just giving a little bit of history of these Hamitic people. So we see that they are also Egyptians. We're going to look at First Chronicles. Let's see what First Chronicles have to say. First Chronicles, we're going to look at 11. First Chronicles 11, and start at verse 4. Verse 4. And David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, which is Jubes, where the Jubilees were. So here we're looking at the Jubilees now. Remember I said, keep in mind, just keep this name in your head. Jubilees, which are one of the son of Canaan. And Canaan was the son of Ham. So we're looking at Hamitic people, Jubilees, Amorites, Hittite. So these we're looking at the Jerusalem, inhabitant of Jerusalem, inhabitant of Israel. These are Hamitic people, the inhabitants of the land. That's what it says there. And the inhabitants of Jebus said to David, thou shalt not come hither. Nevertheless, David took the castle of Zion, which is the city of David. And David said, whosoever smiteth the Jubilees first shall be chief and captain. So here we have David now, who came after Joshua, right? So David took the castle of Zion. This is now called the city of David. Zion was a stronghold of the Canaanites, Hamitic people. And the strongholds is usually In any nation, this is usually the last place that can be, taken over by the army. Once this place is taken over by the army, then you have total control and you have conquered that nation. So this is the place that David have took, the castle of Zion, which was the stronghold of the Hamitic Canaanites people, and they call it city of David. And David dwelt in the castle, therefore they call it the city of David. This is why we have the name, the city of David, and we have Zion, and all of these names stemming from David conquering the Canaanites and making it his home and building a city around it. On 1 Chronicles 11 verse 18, and he built a city round about, even from Millah round about. So here you have David conquering the Canaanites. So we see before David came, all right, so we don't know if David killed all the people. Most likely, he annexed the people that were there into his kingdom. And we're going to see before David, David was about 1000 BCE, before the Common Era, or 1000 BC, 1000 years before Christ, during the decline of the Egyptian Empire. So Joshua was before that. Joshua was right after Moses. And this land that the Canaanites were living in, it was said that Abraham, God said that this will be your land. Right? Yeah, Joshua 15 and verse 63. We're going to look at verse 15 and verse 63. So at verse 63 it says here, this is the time, after Moses died, Joshua took over, and now they have to go possess this land that God promised Abraham and to his seeds, which are the Israelites. As for the Jubilees, so we're talking about Hamitic people, the grandchildren of Ham. As for the Jubilees, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out. So here we go, talking about the inhabitants of Jerusalem, which are Canaanites, and the children of Judah could not drive them out. But the Jubilees dwelt with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day. So these guys were, these so-called black people, Hamitic people. When the children of Israel, particularly Judah, tried to conquer them, they failed. They were not able to do so. So they were living together as one. I can assume that they marry each other. They have Hamitic and Semitic people. Everybody living together as one. Most likely, you were not able to tell the difference between these different people, because they live so closely among each other, and they most likely were definitely the same skin color for them to coexist, on that level. So that was it for but all of these places, land and territories, we're gonna see how did the Canaanites even get to that land to begin with. But we know that they were living there, and we know what happened between Joshua and David and all of these wars that happened to get these guys out, and how they lived together as one people. So let's go to book of Jubilees. Just as now we're gonna see how these guys occupied this land and where these land and territories were. So let's look at the book of Jubilees. So we're going to go to Jubilees chapter 10. Jubilees chapter 10, and let's see where we're going to start, 29 to 34. So, and verse 29 says, and Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good, and he went not in the land of his inheritance to the west. So here we have in Canaan, going into Lebanon and Egypt, right? Even though he says here it was not his inheritance, but still we know that he occupied this territory, So, and it says, in turn to the west, that is to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward, from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. So we're looking at the Mediterranean Sea, we're looking at Jordan and Egypt, Lebanon and Israel. These are the territories of Hamitic people. So if we look at the map, we can see possibly where these guys were occupying. Let's see if we can see that from this map over here. let's see. Let's look at this map. All right, so here we have Lebanon. So here we talk about the Lebanon that we just mentioned, that was Canaanites took this territory, which are Hamitic people, black people. And we have below we have Israel, and we have Jerusalem there. So we have in this territory right here, all of this territory, Lebanon. Up here we have Jerusalem, Israel. So we know that these territories are occupied by Hamitic people. We have the Jordan River. We have east of the river we have Jordan, and west we have Israel. So these territories were still occupied by Hamitic people, going back down to Egypt, Hamitic as well. So all these territories in this neighborhood. Ethiopia is to the south and stuff like that, and you have Libya. I don't have a map of that, but if I find a map, I'll show it to you. But we're just going to focus on these neighborhoods anyways. So we have Lebanon, Israel, Syria, Jordan, Egypt. We have all of these territories that was Hamitic land, right? So if we looked at what was considered to be a curse by these religious groups, Jewish, Islamic, and Christian. They're looking at Hamitic people as the people who occupy Lebanon, Israel, and all of these territory, Egypt, Jordan, and stuff. They look at it as these people that they were cursed because of their skin color, because they were black. But we know for sure, based on history, what the Egyptian people had done in terms of culture, what the Israeli people have done, and all of these surrounding neighborhoods, but mainly Egyptian anyways. We just say Egyptian people, we know their civilization, and if we're gonna continue, to actually follow the narrative and the script, that's early Judaism, Christian, and Arabs were, how they looked at skin color and blackness, then definitely it was not was for them, maybe it was a curse, but not a curse based on the information and the history that we have known of these places. First, we look at Egypt. What do we know about Egypt? Egypt, pyramid builders. So when you say Egypt, we're gonna replace Egypt with black, and just to follow the narrative of the description of what they thought Ham is. So Egyptian, we look at pyramid builders, we're looking at doctors, preservation of mummies, we're looking at scientists, we're looking at astrology, we're looking at mathematics, how these guys were able to build a pyramid to follow a certain sequence and a certain positioning when it comes to astrology and the stars. So we're looking at a fearless, highly skilled, trained people, and a very civilized people. If we look at the rest of the nations as well, even if we look at Israel, Jerusalem, when David came into Jerusalem, he says he conquered, this city of Zion, which was a stronghold. So this temple that David was, the castle that David lived in at that point, obviously this was built by a very civilized nation and a very civilized people. So if you want to look at the background of black people, Hamitic people, and black people, we see definitely how their civilization has been, prospered even before the Israelites got there. So you can take it either way. It's either the Hamitic people are cursed and black skin is cursed, or Hamitic people are one of the first civilized nations on this planet. So that's what I take from that, guys, and definitely they can do some further reading, but we'll stop there for now.